one thing I've noticed about doing this podcast or this show, Nick, over the past 7 years is there's always something to talk about, isn't there? It's never a dull. I don't think we've ever had 1 week where we've not had something to talk about.
Do you reckon one day we will just have a normal week of Vanarama? Or, well, a normal week of Sky Bet, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Sky.
Yeah, this time next year. This time next year we can have a discussion about how bad it is that gambling companies are everywhere. What a discussion that'll be to have.
Right, let's get on with this. Let's do it.
Hello and welcome to the Scarf Bergara War, the show that's raving about Rydell, chatting about Challoner whilst being keen on Keane and positively popping about Palmer. I'm Nick. With me as always. I worked so hard on that, mate. You've no idea. That's Russ Johnson over there. How you doing, Russ? You all right, mate?
How do, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good. I thought I'd start with a little public service announcement because I just wanted to let everyone know that we're the only media outlet this week that is an Adele-free zone. So how good does that feel? No Adele tonight.
Feels pretty good, actually, yeah.
And I'm starting to, I think she's the problem. Have you ever had a mate who breaks up with his girlfriend? He say, "Oh, can we split up?" He was like, "Oh, she's mental. She's mental." And then 2 years later, another girlfriend splits up. "Oh, she's mental, mate. She's absolutely mental." Like, it gets to the point, if it stinks of shit everywhere you go, have a look at your shoes. So, a little bit of advice for you there, Adele, if you're listening. I'm sure she's not. She's probably whinging somewhere. Right, what have we got coming up tonight, Russ, mate?
Well, we are delighted to be joined by none other than Jon Keighren, the man himself. I mean, this is a pretty bit of a coup for us, actually. County royalty joining us on the. Yeah, don't play yourself. You're too modest, John. Come on, like stalwart of county. So, absolutely delighted that you can join us today for this hour's jam-packed show. We're going to talk about Woking on Saturday, the Kings Lynn win last night, and we'll look forward to Wealdstone as well. We'll obviously talk about Connor Jennings. We couldn't let this pass without doing that, and just generally talk county. So yeah, shall I run titles?
Run them.
Let's run titles.
This is the Scarf Bergara War, a Stockport County fan-created podcast, blog, YouTube live show and website. Find us at thescarfbergarawar.co.uk. For county fans, by county fans.
So I've got to start by just thanking everybody that's been listening and watching and whatever over the past few weeks. I mean, last week we had over 1,100 views of last week's video, which is really good. And we've just gone through 500 subscribers. And I've got to say hello to all the usual listeners that are online. We can see comments coming in. So Joe Inglesfield, Ian Dowen, Matt Bryan over in Florida, PJRC.
Can I say hello to the unusual listeners then?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, go on.
Hiya.
Oh, you just a blanket hello to unusual listeners.
Yeah, that's all we need, us unusual people, us misshapes.
Fair enough. If you're new, please do subscribe. If you're not, please do comment and like the video. It all helps with our algorithms and gets us further up the rankings, really, and that's what we want. And I'll start off as well by saying we do have a competition going. So we want to reach 1,000 subscribers so we can start monetizing our show, get a bit of coinage back off YouTube. So to get there, we've joined up with Andy at 8 Days a Week, who's going to give away a county merch bundle with the Stockport County shirt in there as well. So everybody that subscribes will be in the hat for that. So yeah, tell your friends, basically.
Well, if you don't have any friends, just tell someone on the bus. Just sidle up behind them and whisper in their ear.
Yeah.
I've been kicked off all major bus services for that, but it's worth it because now they know about the podcast.
There you go. I never know what to say, Nick. I never know what to say. Do comment if you do comment in and ask a question to John. We will ask it if it's reasonable and it's sensible and not a bit weird. So yeah, do that. That narrows it down a lot for the people that probably watch us. But yeah, John, how are you doing?
I'm very well, yeah. I'm particularly well after last night. Obviously, it was a fantastic evening at Edgeley Park under the floodlights. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing. And thank you very much for inviting me on.
No problem at all. It's nice to have you on. We have got some questions for you, but we'll do those later. I mean, they might even come up during what we're going to talk about anyway. But I guess, let's start with Woking on Saturday. Madden's Madden got a brace, I think, as they call it in the industry. Second goal was a bit of a peach. I mean, how did you see it? I mean, I didn't go to Woking. I don't think you did, Nick. How did you see that one playing out, John?
I was really pleased, actually. I thought it was one of those games I was a little bit worried about, and make no mistake, that it was more important than Bolton. I mean, Bolton, fantastic occasion that I'm enjoying. I enjoy cup runs; it's brilliant. But we have to get out of this division. If we don't, Mark Stott's probably in for another £2 million loss over another season at this level. So there's no question that 3 points against Woking is more important. And I just thought the way we started was fantastic. Paddy took his goals really well. We were by far the better side in the first half. Second half, I mean, fatigue obviously started to catch up with on a lot of the players. And you could see that Woking were getting back into the game. If it had gone on another 10 or 15 minutes, they probably would have got an equaliser. But, real sort of grit and determination, I thought, in the second half, and thoroughly deserved the 3 points. And it was just a great occasion. There's always something. You go to Woking, something weird always happens. And I always remember, like, back in 2012 when Lord Snape at the end it was just one of the strangest moments in broadcast. And I'm good friends with Peter and I like him a lot. And, I enjoy his company. He's a top bloke. But I don't know what possessed him, but he just leaned over me and said, I want to get on that radio right now after we lost 1-0. And just had a complete rant about Jim Gannon and about the way we were playing. And his line was something like, Jim Gannon's always telling me how to run this club. Well, I'll tell him how to run this team, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And you knew, it was radio gold. And Pete Liggins, who I was working with at the time, he couldn't believe his luck, I suppose. But it was there's always something odd happens at Woking. So I was a bit worried late on in the game, but thankfully we saw it out.
I think I think when we get to the end of the season, we're going to look back at that win and think, right, that was massive. That was, because especially, like you said, after the fatigue, for us to come through that. I know it wasn't necessarily a sparkling performance for 90 minutes as it was last night and even last Wednesday as well. But at the end of the season, that's going to be one of the biggest results we've picked up, I think.
It is. It's a really crucial stage of the season, I think, Nick, and to get, with the win, coupled with the win last night, if we can get a good result down at Wealdstone this weekend, and that puts us in a really nice position then going into that, the Christmas period, which, it's a cliche, but the cliches are there because they're generally right. So, it's a critical period, isn't it? So, let's make sure we're nicely positioned, ready for the second half of the season.
So that second half against Woking then, what would you put that down to? Because we did start to sort of tail off, didn't we? Is that down to fatigue, or is that down to not having players in the right frame of mind, or what? Did they use everything sort of mentally in the Bolton game?
I think it is to do with fatigue, and it's to do with mental fatigue as well as physical fatigue. And I think you could see players pulling up with cramp, and it's not a reflection on previous regimes or anything like that, but we're having players going down with cramp after sort of 65, 70 minutes, and that just shows you what effort they've put in. And we know Dave Challoner is a big believer in his physical stats, his physical data. He's big on the running and the fitness, and he's huge on that. And I think he expects a lot from them. And again, maybe you shouldn't be surprised. Again, when I was younger, sort of starting out in this career, I remember interviewing Gary Megson once and saying to him something like, I think we'd lost 1-0 at Sunderland, and given the resources we had, it wasn't the worst result ever. And I remember saying to Gary in the interview something like, the players gave you 100%, didn't they? And he went, yeah. And I went, well, yeah. And he went, well, what else would they do? That's like a base. That's the very, very base thing that you'd expect. That's the bottom. Anything else above that is a bonus. But of course they give 100%. They have to. That's what they're paid to do. So it was quite a frosty exchange. But it stayed with me because I thought, actually, yeah, he's right. Because I think County fans will forgive a lot when we can see a player putting in 100% effort, and I think that was what he was trying to get at. And again, I saw that at Woking, but yeah, they were out on the feet by the end, and I'm sure a few of them slept on the bus on the way home.
Yeah, that makes it even more impressive for me because Woking had a really good start as well, didn't they, to the season?
Yeah, I mean,
pretty impressive.
Yeah, they've had a transition, haven't they? They've gone to full time. They've got they've doubled the budget down there. They've got it's a nice little setup. They've got investment now from America. They've got a 3-year plan to be in the Football League. They want to finish in the top 7 this season. So the ambition's clearly there. I think you saw the flip side of that though last night with Kings Lynn. I don't want to preempt what you're going to talk about later, but that's a team where they've gone for a full-time setup with a part-time budget, and I think Woking is different to that, but still quite a small squad. So I think they're still a work in progress, obviously, but they've got 1 or 2 really good players, and yeah, it was always going to be a test. It was a game, as I say, because something always happens. I was worried about Woking, and what Nick said earlier, absolutely right. It could be a really big 3 points. That.
Yeah, and that second goal from Madden as well. That just shows everybody what he's capable of. Not really. I don't think he's really shown it yet, but that. I mean, the only other one I can think of is the Halifax goal last season behind closed doors when he absolutely took the net off almost. But that was passing into the top right-hand corner, wasn't it?
It was, and I think again, you talk about sort of off. I think he works harder probably than anybody off the ball, out of possession. He's a real grafter, and again, I don't think it's the worst thing that he missed last night, because I think he could do with a breather. I think he's put in so much effort into the last few games. I think it's probably not the worst thing that's ever happened. So yeah, he's a top player. He's got that ability, hasn't he? And there's not many players on the pitch could have pulled off that finish down at Woking at the weekend. So yeah, great goal.
Yeah. It's so nice to see him in a more advanced position, isn't it? Really,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. And I know he did score a lot of his goals at his previous club coming off the left flank and sort of cutting inside, getting shots away with his right foot. But I like him more central, just playing off the big man. And for me, Scott Quigley, and this is where, again, I do have some sympathy with Simon Russ, because, he makes this marquee signing and then he's never fit for the first sort of, I don't know, 2 months of the season, whatever it was. And so I do feel sorry for him, because we'd obviously pinned a lot of our ambitions this season on Scott. And I think between him and Paddy, they should really, after Christmas, be tearing this league up.
Yeah, the signs are already there, I think. Yeah. They're starting to gain a good understanding very early on. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
What's can you tell us anything about the captaincy? I noticed it's kind of gone under the radar that Paddy Maddens looks like he's got the captaincy over Palmer now. Do you know anything about that? I think,
ultimately, I think Dave's probably still testing the water in that sense. The club captain clearly is Liam Hogan, and then under Simon, Paddy was obviously getting the armband when it wasn't him. And I must admit, there's been times in the past where I've seen, the captain's armband, which is, it's a precious thing, but I've seen it sort of tossed around the team, and I don't like that. I want to know who the captain is, and I think it should be stuck fast, really. And I don't like to see it chopping and changing. I don't particularly like strikers being captains either, if I'm honest. But for me, it would make sense if it was Ash Palmer going forward. But it's obviously one that Dave's got to decide now.
Yeah. The questions are coming in. I don't think you can see the comments coming in, but they are coming in thick and fast. To everybody listening, we will try and pick some out, but obviously it's very difficult because there are a lot coming through. I will just ask one, though, just to sort of interject the flow of the conversation, because we're not professional in here. We'll just kind of do
I would like you to interject the flow of the conversation. I'd like to hear how you do that.
Yeah. So, where was the worst place you've done commentary from, and where's the best?
Great question. I tell you again, as I say, I've been doing this for like 24 years now, and I know when I started out young and naive, and we were going to Wolves, we were going to West Brom, Main Road, Sellers Park, all these grounds. Honest to God, I took it for granted. I just thought it's always going to be like this. It's going to be wonderful. I never ever imagined that I'd be commentating at Colwyn Bay, at North Ferriby, at Gainsborough Trinity. I just never thought that would happen. So yeah, it's been an eye opener. The worst is probably Lowestoft, I think, which was very accommodating, but it was a porter cabin stuck on the roof of another porter cabin, and it was quite set back from the pitch, and I couldn't see sort of quarter of it down the right hand side. So no idea who was taking corners or throw-ins down that side or anything. And then the windows steamed up, and there was no way of doing anything about it because it was November, so it was freezing cold outside. But
I was going to say, what are you doing in there to make the windows?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's November, then fair enough.
And I think they had like I don't know what you call it, like metal grills on the outside, anti-vandalism or anti-theft metal grills. So just couldn't see, to be quite honest. So that's probably the worst. The best, I mean, apart from Edgley Park, is probably the Stadium of Light. I think working at a place like Sunderland was incredible. Although I do remember the last time we went there, it snowed quite heavily. It was December time, and it snowed quite heavily, and we were a bit late. And I'd travelled with a guy called Richard Partington and Phil Staley, who was co-com at the time. And anyway, we got stuck in traffic. It was mither and all sorts, and we could see the ground, but it was quite a way away. And I said to Phil, come on, let's just leg it. Let's grab the bags and just go. So he sets off, and we're heading up. And all the fans were walking sort of 5 or 6 abreast all the way up this sort of meandering pathway towards the Stadium of Light. And I said to Phil, we need to get past these people. Let's just step past them, go across, it's only a bit of grass or something. I stepped off what was obviously a hard path. I couldn't see because of the snow. And I sank, and I've not got a lot of room to sink. So I sank. I must have been probably knee deep in just, I don't know what it was like. The snow just went, and I was in this mud and shit. It was just horrible. Pulled that leg out anyway, and I went back on the path. All these Mackhams are all laughing at me. Gets to the press entrance, and I just stood there with my bags, like feeling miserable. And it's late as well. We're late for the game. I'm now cold and I'm wet, and this guy just opens the door and he just looks me up and down. He just went, "Do you not have shoe polish in Stockport then?" And normally I'd have laughed, but I just went, "Just let me in, you twat." It's not funny. I've had enough. I'm having a bad day. So, but yeah, having said that, once we're in, wonderful. I mean, what an environment! What a place to play your football! What a place to do your commentary, and what a place to to witness what was a really good performance on the day. As I say, we lost, but we were punching way above our weight then.
Yeah. So when was that? When was that about? Was that?
That'd be Megson period. So what's that?
Megson period, right?
Yeah, so 98, 99, around that time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, back to the present day then. Kings Lynn last night. I mean, I think I don't think I tweeted. I did tweet. Professional, comprehensive, 5 different scorers, players rested. Obviously, Jennings came back on, got his minutes. Even if he had not scored, it'd have been great for him because he got his minutes again. It was just, I don't remember seeing such a complete performance. It was in their final third for most of the game.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, we had to be patient early on, sort of for half an hour or so, and you just wondered. You thought, having seen their previous result as well, because they gave Bromley a real scare, and I thought Bromley was a pretty good side. But really professional performance, as you say, Russ. And I thought they had 2 shots in the entire game. Both of those were off target. One of them miles off target, and we had. I think I lost count, but I'm going to say about 20 attempts on goal in the game, loads, double figures for corner count. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's that moment, not only coming off the bench for Connor Jennings, but then to score that goal and to see the delight, the relief on his face was just incredible. And this is a guy who only back in March was being told, look, that's it, forget football. It's just about you and your health now. It's about getting yourself as well as you possibly can be. And there was talk he was going to have a titanium shoulder joint. That it was that serious. But then I don't know the real intricacies of it. But essentially, it's sort of almost like a bone marrow donor. It's living tissue. So he's obviously then got all the mobility. And I loved his I don't know if the interview's gone live yet or not. I've gone out.
Yeah, I watched it.
It has.
Yeah.
I love his line where he said, "You don't realise how much you use your arms, do you?" No, CJ, no, you do. But no, it was lovely. And what was nice as well was the bit sort of, you know, off camera behind the scenes. You know, obviously the ground was empty of supporters, but you know, Connor comes out and literally, I mean, everybody in the media teams give him a hug. I'd give him a hug. We're all in bits, and it was quite an emotional moment. And what's great about Connor though is like literally, I said to Liam Richardson, who's doing a great job, by the way, as county's media manager since taking over there. And I just spoke to Liam. I said, look, you're going to start getting requests now. Because I said, not only did he come off the bench, but I said he scored and his family are here. And the whole narrative, it's a wonderful story. You know, it's a great story of redemption. So I said, you're going to get lots of, and sure enough, as soon as it happened, there was messages coming in from national newspapers and broadcasters wanting to interview Connor. What they don't know, he just hates it. He hates doing it. And so we sort of mentioned it to him and said, you know, are you all right to do some? And he went, he says, I'm not even happy doing yours, John, but you know, I couldn't really say no, could I? So yeah, he's done that one, but I don't think you'll be seeing him do anymore. He likes to keep his head down. He doesn't want to, although he's a bubbly character. Don't get me wrong, he's one of the funniest lads you'll meet in the club, but he's not bothered about all that. So yeah, I've got to take your hat off to him. But fantastic, great story. And funny enough, where we live now, I bumped into just by fluke, I bumped into the chaplain from Tranmere Rovers, just at a COVID centre of all places. And he was saying, he said, you took one of our top players. I said, yeah, Connor Jennings, he's great. And he said, please pass on my best to him. What a fantastic lad he is. What an unbelievable lad. I really, really like him. So, you know, wherever you go in football, people are telling you what a great lad. Well, both of them, actually, the Jennings brothers, fantastic lads. So, yeah, really pleased for him last night. And I guess he's probably got to manage his expectations to an extent, and we've got to manage our expectations as well. But you could see what the goal did for him. You know, the next touch of the ball down the line for Rydell to cross. It was just... he was just buzzing, wasn't he, afterwards? So, yeah, really exciting and what a moment.
Yeah, definitely. Just watching that interview back that you did with him, I think I watched it back today. You said, were you emotional? You know, were you emotional when you came on the pitch? And he just sort of, well, I wouldn't say shot you down, but he just went, no, it's just a job. Didn't he? But we've got people in the comments saying that they were a bit emotional, and they even, you know, Mike Fitzgerald said he shed a tear when the goal went in, but then you got like Connor Jennings just going, no, just a job. It's just a job. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd take it with a pinch of salt. I think he was trying to manage his emotions, and I think that was how he was doing it, because, you know, seeing him afterwards, I do think it got to him with his family being there as well. I do think there was a bit more to it than it's just a job, and especially when you've been told that job's been taken away from you, which he was only 9 months ago. So yeah, fantastic. What a story. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. Really pleased for him. And yeah, it's let's hope we can get a few more before the season finishes as well.
It's a great option, isn't it? Because for the talk of new signings, and we've just gone and got ourselves one now.
Yeah.
You know, sorted.
Yeah, a top football league striker who should be at the peak and the prime of his career. So yeah, let's hope that's the case. He's only 30 years old, so there's plenty more to come from Connor Jennings. And I think it's funny. I was talking to my mate Des Hinks about him before the diagnosis came through, and I remember Des saying to me, something not right, you know, something. I don't know what it is. Because Des obviously watches a lot of you know, teams in League One and League Two through his job with Sky, and he was saying to me, you know, it doesn't look as he's looked when I've seen him before playing for Tranmere. And he said it's not about the goals, because, you know, he's never been massively prolific, but he's been a pest, you know, to centre halves. He occupies defenders and creates space for other people, as well as chipping in with his own fair share as well. And he said it just doesn't look right. So when that, I mean, obviously we didn't expect it to be anything as devastating as the diagnosis that he got. But yeah, I mean, all told, it's such a happy ending, and you know, you see him come off the bench and you think, well, that's the icing on the cake, and then he scores, and that's the icing on the icing, isn't it? It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Because I wanted to see him against Bolton. After Crankshaw sealed it, I thought, we can get Jennings on here. But in hindsight, now I'm glad it was last night. and we got that moment, because it all would have would have got lost in everything else, I think, last Wednesday.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the fact there were 9 subs allowed the manager to name him, but probably with no great expectation of bringing him on. And then last night, I'm not even sure he would have made the bench last night if there'd been a keeper on the bench. But you know, and if Paddy had been fit, you know, there's all kinds of repercussions. So it's just everything just aligned last night for him, and made it perfect. And great time to come on. And I don't know, there was a couple of times during that sort of cameo appearance that he made where I looked at other players and I thought, they're trying to set him up, they're trying to get a goal for him, they're trying to lay it on a plate for him. And you can do it when you're playing a side that's poor, you know, and let's be honest, they were poor. You get that opportunity. So I always remember once I played in a charity match, and Jim Gannon was playing on my team. And I remember him saying to me in the game, because we got on well, myself and Jim. And I remember him saying to me during the game, he said, JK, get in the hole. I'll get you a goal. Get in the hole. And I went, where's the hole? I don't know where the hole is. I said, if it's a deep one, I'll not get out of it. So brilliant. I didn't have a clue what he's on about.
I think any discussion about the Kings Lynn game wouldn't be complete without taking our hat off to the Kings Lynn fans, I think. I mean, pig of a journey up here, horrible weather, get battered 5-0. Pig of a journey back to slip into bed next to your sister, and just what an. But I love that they didn't start leaving until the 5th one went in, and then there was like a mass exodus of them. It's like, oh, was that the one that sent you over the edge? Was it the 5th goal?
Yeah. And
did you see? Sorry, did you see the bloke who was asleep?
No. I heard that you mentioned this. I don't blame him.
No.
He was across about 4 seats. It was brilliant.
What? I heard that on the way back, the whoever the admin was for their official Twitter account was joining up with the singing your dialects Twitter spaces. Yeah. So like one fan tweeted, we've just been smashed 5-0 away in Stockport, yet here's our admin trying to get on singing your dialect.
Do you know what this is, Russ, for us old fogies? Can you tell us what singing your dialect is? Because everyone's on about it. I don't have a clue what's going on.
Oh right, it's a flash in the pan. That's what it is. So Twitter, these new Twitter Spaces, a lad from Manchester got on it and named it "Singing Your Dialects." And I think on his first night he got about 250 people joining in. At last count, it was at 45,000.
We had it on. Well, we had it on in the bar. Myself and Sam Byrne had it on the bar after the game last night. And when we put it on, Declan Rice was on it, singing "Rice, Rice, Baby." So turned off at that point.
But at least with Declan Rice, at least it's a footballer who's like at the top of his game and doing well. Imagine Paul Pogba had gone on.
It's slated.
Yeah, you've got to read the room, haven't you, before you
you have. Before we move on to Wealdstone, we'll just cover Woking and Kings Lynn still. There's a few more milestones that we probably should mention. So Barkley got his first goal last night. Hinchliffe got his 250th appearance on Saturday. I think it was.
Oh no, it's Hinchcliffe apparently. That's what they're all singing. After 6 years, they're singing Hinchcliffe at the back of Upper Tier 3. So we might as well just pick another player and add a letter to it. So Jon Keighren, brilliant. Because they don't care. So
Hinchcliffe. That's a fantastic achievement, isn't it? 250 and getting it presented to him by Alan Ogley as well.
Well, again, Alan Ogley cries at anything, so that was quite an emotional moment, actually. That was in the bar last night as well, and that was lovely to see, actually. And I think I said in the program notes that Ben now he's moved into that realm of goalkeepers. He's up there now with your Paul Jones, your Neil Edwards, your Alan Ogleys. He's in that company. And given his age, his profile, everything he's got going for him, he's such a fit lad as well. I just think he could be around for many, many more years yet to come, and there's plenty more to come from him. So, it's a wonderful achievement, and to do it in a single stint with the club. I know Paul Turnbull was similar in terms of the number of appearances, but it's spread over sort of 4 different spells. So. It's quite a remarkable achievement. I'm so pleased for Ben, because I think he's had this before at Fylde, where there's been, I think it was Matty Irwin was the challenging goalkeeper, and it, he got sidelined, and then he was getting frustrated, and he left it ultimately. And we don't want to see Ben leaving. And I think, Ethan Ross probably deserved his chance, but I think Ben deserves his chance back again. So, let's see how many he can rack up now. But it's a wonderful, wonderful achievement. And, you look at his stats, I think it's something like, over the last 5 seasons, I think something like 79 clean sheets over 5 seasons. I mean, goalkeepers, Russ, I don't care what level you're at. That's an unbelievable statistic. And then, adding to that the 6 or 7 that he's got already this season. So he's just going from strength to strength. And but it was a lovely moment actually last night. And it wasn't hugely populated in the bar last night, but for corporate. But it was good, and it was nice to see Alan Ogley there, and he's presented him with his framed shirt.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Panton says should have presented it on the pitch. I think logistically that probably couldn't happen because he was in the team. But it'd be nice to do that at some point. Is get him out on the pitch, and I don't know when you could do that though. I mean, if you specifically
just do it when we're getting the trophy at the end of the season. Just do it then.
I think, to be honest, we have done it in the past where it's been presented to the relevant player after the warm up. So the very last possible minute. But then a lot of fans miss it as well anyway. They're still coming in. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. But it's been done. I mean, the ideal would be to do it on the 250th, but obviously we were away from home. So all clubs are different, and I just think it's so important that we do mark it though, and we've done that nicely.
Yeah, that's very pleasing for me. The fact there's been such a high prior to the past 5 or 6 years, it's been a high turnover of players every year. So the fact that we've got 4 or 5 players who've been with us for half a decade, that was unthinkable a few years back.
Yeah, it was, especially when Neil was the manager. You're lucky to have 4 or 5 days.
I know.
It's great, and I think what's lovely now, and the cream rises to the top. And I think what's great about the squad in the current moment is that players like Ben, like Ash Palmer, like Jon Keighren, like Sam Minihan those title winners have just reminded us that, they haven't suddenly gone off the radar, and they're not bad players overnight. And imagine if you're going to replace those 4, you'd have to spend a real fortune. And I'm not sure that the previous manager was massively convinced by any of them. No. But I think Dave Challoner can see through that. And, I've got a lot of respect now for players who come through that route, through the National League North, and that kind of level, the unbelievable ability now. And it's such a strong league, strong division. The North is a lot stronger than the South as well. And you talk to clubs like Kings Lynn who've been in both divisions, and they all tell you that the North is ridiculously tough. So, you can see the quality of those players, and I'm pleased that they're getting their opportunity now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Wealdstone on Saturday. So decent win for them last night away, albeit away at Dover. But still, I mean, for them, a pretty good win. They're unbeaten in the last 5. It's a long way to go. What are we expecting? I mean, from our point of view, or from my point of view, I won't speak for Nick because he's a grown man. He can speak for himself, quite frankly. I'm expecting us to go there and win again. I think we're strong enough. I think we're obviously capable enough. I wouldn't be too disappointed with a 1-0, to be honest. I just want to come away with all 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, normally you'd look back at last season and try and read something into that, and you can't. I mean, they were doing well last season, then decided to furlough everybody, and and that's what angered Simon Rusk so much. And I agree with him. It was risk-free football for teams like them because they weren't bothered. Just a case of getting through the season. There's no consequences because you weren't going to get relegated, so they just furloughed everybody, cut the costs, and took the money. So. But no, they've obviously had a good long hard look at what they're going to do for the new season. They've got a new manager in place, and I'm not sure what the fallout was with the previous guy, but yeah, the manager they've got in now seems to be doing a really good job. They're well clear of the drop zone now. I think they're about 8 or 9 points above it, and climbed up to 15th. They've got on a decent run. Last season, the big problem obviously was they just conceded goals for fun. I think they was it 99 or something they let in, worst defence in the National League. But this time round, they do look a lot more resolute. They do look a lot more solid at the back.
Yeah.
And I've only seen little video clips of them this season, but certainly, organisation's much better. They play a possession game. And there's not many teams in the lower half that go for that, but they do try and play a possession game. They'll try and play out from the back. They'll try and frustrate us, obviously, and then try and hit on the break. So I think it'd be interesting. I think it'll be tight. It might be a little more frustrating than some of the games we've watched. I'm not expecting free flowing football or 5 goals or anything like that this time. But again, like I was saying about the Woking game, this is more important than Bolton. It's more important than Rotherham. Just go there, do the job. If we can get another 3 points, make it 9 out of 9, that'll be a wonderful position and potentially put us in the playoffs as well. As I say, just ahead of Christmas, and especially now, whilst there's very few home games at the minute. I was joking last night, saying, can you imagine when the board that I was on, if we looked at that fixture list and saw no home games for that period of time, we'd have the begging bowl. I don't know what we'd be doing, arranging friendlies and all sorts. How would we get through that? But now nobody talks about it now. That the lack of commercial revenue, turnstile income, the shop is nobody's talking about it. It's like, well, never mind. No game till Boxing Day, don't matter. But yeah, really, really strange. But as I say, that could have been a real tipping point back in the day.
It's quite a weird one, isn't it? Because I think Eastleigh was penciled in, wasn't it, for the 4th?
Yeah.
So generally in the fixture list, and I didn't even notice this when I was looking at it. At the start of the season when I was marking off which ones I was going to go to away, there's no game from the 4th, sort of no home game for the whole of December almost. So, in the middle of the large middle of part of December, it's weird.
Exactly.
I've never known that before.
As it stands, our next home game is Boxing Day against Altrincham, which is bonkers. But I mean, obviously, we could get a home draw in the trophy. We could find ourselves as a replay against Rotherham. So there is the potential for home games, but it is just potential. It's not. There's no guarantees. So yeah, it's just an odd period, and I think that that makes it all the more challenging because I think as it stands under Simon Rusk, we probably would have preferred to be away from home. But at the minute, you want to be at Edgeley Park and you want to be winning games and having nights like we've had in the last two home games. So yeah, let's hope that a home draw in the trophy would be good. We don't want a silly draw there, do we?
I'm feeling failed at home. I've just got this feeling.
That'd be great. That.
Yeah, I want it.
Yeah, Dave Chalmers would relish that. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure he would.
I think if we get to Christmas or just after Christmas and we've got a few good results under our belts and we are in that playoff mix with a game in hand or without, I think it's on, isn't it?
It is on, and I tell you, you can already feel there's been such a change in the mood around the place, and the fans they've been unbelievable the last 2 or 3 weeks, and again, talking to me and Des talk about these kind of things a lot because we're sad, but we think like if you keep bigging up the fans, keep talking about the fans, saying all the right things about our supporters because they are different class, and if we can keep doing that, they'll keep coming. And you saw the gate like 4,500 on Tuesday night against Kings Lynn, and where they brought 32. That's remarkable, And I know there's a lot of legacy from the Bolton fixture, but even so, it's still a fantastic turnout on a Tuesday night. So yeah, something special is definitely happening, and I think the fans are absolutely back on board. There's a real unity and a real sense of purpose around the club now. It was a little bit fractured, I think, at the start of the season. We weren't. I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it didn't feel that there was that togetherness, and I didn't feel there was a connection between the fans and the players. I thought the fans were trying their hardest, but players maybe weren't giving them anything to shout about, and then there was that disconnect, and it just all sort of started to fall apart. And that's why away results seem to be better than home results, but that's changed now. And Dave Challenger, he's no mug. He knows how to harness that and use it to his advantage.
Yeah, I think we spoke about on this show before about turning points in the club's history and managers as well. So we spoke about sort of the Fylde game that was 0-0 when Jim was in charge. You could see a sort of a connection between the fans and the players and a turning point. It's interesting that Challenger had that like within a couple of days because he went to Bolton and got a draw. And straight away, I mean, we're all pleased with Challenger's appointment anyway, but because he got a draw at Bolton, that just added to that. Then we beat Bolton. He just adds again. He just builds on those building blocks. And
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think also you talk about togetherness. I think one of the things that really hampered Simon Rusk was the fact that he was new to the job. He was new to the job of managing a big league team, and that's what we are to all intents and purposes. And then, of course, we'd had COVID as well, so we were playing behind closed doors. And I think then, when the fans did come back in, they weren't entirely happy with the style of play. And I think also that Simon himself, I think, because he was so new to it, I think this is just a personal opinion, nothing coming from the club, but I just felt there was he's quite aloof almost. He was difficult to see him trusting supporters or wanting to put himself out or be vulnerable with supporters. And I think he found that hard. And then the players almost take their lead from that. And they think that, well, okay, well, he's doing that. Well, I'll do that as well. And then so there was hardly any connection between the players and the fans. And a lot of the community stuff seemed to have dried up. But, Dave's a big believer in all that. He's going to drive all that. And, you see the scenes at the end of games now, and it's the complete opposite. And there's been a real shift. And as I said earlier, the fans will accept pretty much anything as long as they see, a team that's playing for the badge. Players that are playing for the badge and putting in 100% effort, and that's what you'll get with the Dave Challoner team.
Good to hear. Good stuff. Okay, should we talk about you, John?
If you must, yeah.
I was going to go with take me out rather than this is your life.
Yeah, yours is more of a modern approach, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I don't know where to start with. I mean, just what we were thinking when we were planning on what we were going to ask you was, during lockdown, what was that like commentating on those games, and was there sort of like a learning curve in getting used to nobody being in the ground, although you're kind of insular anyway, I guess, with commentary, but was the new technology to learn and all these different things, or how did that go for you?
There was, I mean, probably the biggest shift for me was I hadn't really done any TV commentary, so I mean, there's a couple of benefits of being on the radio. The essential thing for me to do is to tell you at any point in time where the ball is. So you want to know where the action is, where it's happening, and get a sense of who's on top, and so you can do that. But obviously, when you can see that, you don't need this bald fella telling you where the ball is every 2 seconds, because you don't need that. Also, the score's on the screen, so you don't need reminder of the score. So all those basics that you do on the radio are suddenly gone. And what I had to learn quite quickly was the use of silence and just allowing the game to breathe a little bit more than you would on the radio. And I found it difficult to shut up, and which is a common problem apparently.
Yeah, I have that problem on here.
But it's a bigger shift than you think, and I think perhaps naively I thought, well, commentating, it's the same whatever you do, but it's clearly it's not. And the other thing was, and funny enough, you talked there, Russ, about almost being in a sort of cocoon, and you look at your commentary box, and it's all quite private. Now, the players said that we could hear you, we could hear what you were saying on the pitch. So, anything bad you said, I mean, you're not tending to do that anyway, but it was a case of they could hear everything. So, really strange, really odd environment. And the beauty of any commentary, of course, are those highlights, the big moments in games where, yes, you're there to punctuate it, but the real commentary comes from the crowd. So being able to hear that reaction and get that, the sort of the Chorley moments, those are the kind of things that you really want, and that's why you do the job. And yeah, so without those, I mean, we scored some really nice goals during lockdown, but I mean, I don't listen to myself back a great deal anyway. I try not to. I don't particularly enjoy doing it unless I think I need to, unless there's something wrong in a commentary particularly. But I certainly haven't listened back to many of those lockdown ones because I didn't enjoy them. It didn't look like the players enjoyed them either, to be honest. So, no, it was a tough time, wasn't it? It was horrible. I tell you what was nice though, and the one thing that did sort of keep me going was we got a lot of messages from the other club, from the opposition teams, and so because that's something else that suddenly you've got to be aware of, is that you've got fans from all these other teams, from Notts County or wherever, they're suddenly tuning in and getting lots and lots of comments saying this is by far the best one we've ever done. Somebody who's actually done some research, knows our players, both sets of players, understands that, and has got a bit of background knowledge. I mean, your research is the same, but excuse me, I do a lot of research, obviously, for all games, but you probably only use about, I don't know, 10% of what you've actually researched, but you've got to have it there at your fingertips just in case if there's we had an incident the other night with that nasty injury, and there was quite a lengthy break in play, so you've got to have something to talk about. You can't just sit there whistling, twiddling your thumb. So, but yeah, I thought that was, if there was any good to come out of it, it was a little bit of flattery, which there's nothing wrong with that, coming from the away team, and I did find that quite rewarding. But the biggest killer though was a lot of clubs wouldn't allow us then into their grounds for the away fixtures. So having had a run of, I don't know, 1,250 games, suddenly I couldn't, there was games I couldn't go to, there was grounds I couldn't go on. So that was, from a very selfish, perspective, I found that upsetting. But hey, look, I mean, COVID presented lots of challenges. I think Jon Keighren missing a few football matches is probably the least of them.
Well, Johnson and them used to mention that on the 5 o'clock briefings. It was right up there before they did the little graph and stuff. Yeah. Well, let's get Keighren back to the games.
JK can't go to Wealdstone. He's gutted. What are we going to do? Come on, Bantam, sort this out.
No, it's nice that you got those players, because it was you were definitely up there, if not the best. Because I watched all the streams. In fact, no, I missed one, and it was the Solihull one where we won 5-0 away or something. I can't believe I missed it. Got me timing wrong, but yeah, some of them were pretty bad. They weren't worth the 12 quid that we were paying every week anyway. Just going back to sort of rewinding a bit to some of your best moments. Then I say your best moments that County have had that you've been commentating on. Where does Bolton rank in that? Because obviously we've got the Curzon match, haven't we? Yeah. When we, that famous quote that you did, and I guess I've probably been to all the other matches that you commentated on, so I don't know. Did you commentate on the 2008 playoff final? I'm not sure, but
yes, yeah. I mean, obviously that's up there, and I'd say what was interesting. And Bolton, by the way, is certain. I know Sam Byrne said something about the top 3, and I think I said in commentary that night, it feels like 96, 97, or like the win over Man City, the John Hardiker night. It feels like that, the Bolton game. It did have that sense of occasion about it. Although, I'll stand by what I said. It's not as important as Wealdstone away, but it did have that sense of occasion. And I think, clearly the 2008 was a brilliant occasion. And but the reason it was brilliant was because I always remember speaking to a steward after the game, because it was the new Wembley, obviously. And this steward said, I've watched every game since this stadium opened. He said internationals and playoff finals and cup finals and everything. He said, that's the best game of football I've seen in this stadium. Now, I know it's only a steward and it's only, County against Rochdale, but I just thought, what a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
Take that, Steve McLaren.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. but what a reflection on that wonderful team that Jim had put together. It was a remarkable, just a moment in time where everything just clicked, and he put together a fantastic side. I know financially, you could argue it was built on foundations of sand, but that take nothing away from Jim and the team that he put together. I think probably the other one would be the John Hardiker night against Manchester City. I've got to say, hold my hands up and say, in all honesty, there is no record of me commentating on that one, because what happened when the second goal went in, I jumped up in my seat and pulled all the wires out and just took the radio station off air.
I know, John, I was listening.
Sorry, pal. I absolutely the most pathetic excuse that I can give, but I did. I just pulled everything, all the wires came out, and it was. I've never done it since, but you learn your lessons, don't you? But yeah, it was such a high point. But then obviously I missed all the celebrations. I'm busy trying to plug everything back in again and try and make it reconnect. So yeah, it was a funny night. But it's up there. And obviously 96, 97, there was some great occasions on that League Cup run. And There's been some great moments, and County's provided all of them, and the fans have provided the backdrop. So it's been great.
We've got a question here from Simon in Sydney. I went a bit Jimmy Savile then, didn't I? Got a letter here from Simon of Sydney. His first question we've pretty much covered because it's about what's changed on the pitch. But yeah, his other question: what are your hopes in the next few years, and what do you think is important for the club to get right, and any pitfalls we must avoid?
Oh, that covers a lot.
We've got 10 minutes left.
Yeah. What I think is that I want Mark Stock to enjoy himself. I think that, I know it sounds flippant, but that is actually probably the most important thing of all. I speak a lot to Mark, and we catch up maybe once or twice a week. And when I speak to him, he's had so few moments he's been able to enjoy since taking the club on. But I said to him, it's almost like this is his hobby now, because he's taken this pot of money and he's decided to invest that money in Stockport County. He loves football. And me and him go back a long way, actually. We both worked at the Stockport Express in the sort of late, what would that be? Early 90s, maybe at 90, 89, 90, something like that. We were both at the Stockport Express at the same time. And Paul Taylor, the co-owner of Strawberry Radio, we're all there together at the same time. But Mark enjoying himself is absolutely critical, because if he doesn't enjoy it, why would he stick with it? And he wants it to work. But I think what I got the impression from him, he wants to be able to just turn up at the training ground every now and then, get himself a brew, sit down with the manager and chat football for a bit, and just enjoy himself, and just, I don't think he's had that so far, but he certainly did against Bolton. And
I did enjoy that video of him with Simon Wilson, Steve Bellish, just mirroring what was going on in the cheese lane. Absolutely amazing, that,
yeah, it's brilliant. And I mean, I think he's the first to admit he's made mistakes. And I was talking to him the other week, and it was just before Dave Challoner was appointed. So obviously I was pushing for Dave. I really, I just said I was on the board. We tried to get him in 2016. It didn't come off, but honestly, I truly believe this is your man. And I said, if there's anything that's maybe where we've misjudged it, it's that idea of going from the National League to the Championship in 7 years and having one guy to take you there. Well, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's been a manager who's ever done that journey. I suppose O'Neill at Wickham did okay, and Mad Dog at Barnet did all right, but nobody's done that with one club. And I said, maybe you almost need to break it down and think to yourself, well, we need a guy to get us out of this division. Maybe take us out of League Two, and then it might be somebody completely different in League One, and then they might plateau in the Championship, and you might have to get somebody else in again. It doesn't have to be one person all the way through, and that's why you give 3 year. You didn't give Simon Rusk a 7-year contract. You gave him a
good job and all.
Yeah, you gave him a 3-year deal for a reason. So I said, maybe you, because I think Simon Rusk might be a really, really good coach in League Two or League One or even the Championship. I think he's got that in his locker. But I think getting out of this division, we need somebody who's got experience of getting promoted in non-league football. And Dave's done that with money. He's done it without money. He's done it with low expectations, with high expectations. He's just done it everywhere he's been. So perfect appointment.
Yeah. What was your favourite goal in the Bolton game? What was the what was out of them all? What was the biggest moment for you?
Biggest moment. I mean, I suppose that I think for me, probably Ash Palmer's header was, because you think. People around me were saying 3-2, we're still well in this. And you're thinking that the more time ticked on, you just thought, can't see it. And also because that big Santos at the back was winning everything in the air, you were wondering how we're going to, and he was marking Ash, and I was thinking, well, how's it going to happen? I did think that for me that was, and I loved it, not just because it's a typical Ash Palmer goal, but because of the own goal at the other end, for which he took full responsibility. And I've watched it back a few times. I'm still not convinced. But anyway, he took full responsibility for it. But then to go and redeem himself by scoring at the other end. And I just, look, he's not a perfect player. He will make mistakes. And he made one in the Woking game. But I just think he deserves he's got so much credit in the bank with county fans that he could afford the odd mistake, because he's going to redeem himself 10 times over. And for me, it was just such a moment. I've got to mention, I mean, the Quigley goal where I thought he did have cramp. I mentioned cramp earlier on. He was suffering with that, trying to conserve his energy, and then somehow he shrugged it off and lobbed the ball in the back of the net. It's just, he's different class. So yeah, it was an amazing night, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Well, from a fan's perspective, I mean, we were in the Cheadle end. That goal when Palmer, when Ash scored that, it was just limbs. I hugged two lads in front of me in their early 20s. I don't even know him. I just hugged them.
I've seen them since.
We're not back to Jimmy Savile again, are we?
See, that wasn't even me, that one, Russ. So just remember that.
Right. One final question, because I'm conscious that you do have to go and put your lad to bed. So, T asks, and there's a supplementary question to this: is Phil Staley your favourite co-commentator? But who is your favourite co-commentator? And me and Nick are in the hat for this as well.
well, a quick bit of background on that. When I did co-commentary on the FC United game, I arrived late, and John said, "Oh, so how do you think FC United will line up?" And I went on for about 10 minutes talking about Sam Sheridan. Only
he wasn't playing.
Oh, he's not playing. So I think I'm off the list.
I think Phil was. I love Phil to bits. I love him because for his uniqueness. I love he's got a good insight as well. I think we hit a purple patch when we got Phil involved, and it was great to have him. And he travelled around the country with me, and we did games up on left, right, and centre. And just a great bloke to work with. Still in touch with him today. Wrote a book with him, as it just everything that I love him to bits. Fantastic bloke. But I've mentioned him a couple of times already. Des Hinks, I think, has been a great servant to the club down the years. Yeah. His knowledge of county is second to none, really. His memory's longer than anyone's, I know. But yeah, I think he's been really good. But I've got to say, credit to the new lads who've come through. We've got obviously Chris Ridgway last season. We've got Sam Burns been doing a bit this season, and Sam's got real good insight and good voice, good intelligence, and Liam as well. Liam Richardson, County's media man, and I've been in that position where you're working for the club and you walk in a tight. I mean, I had that horrible situation where I was a director, so I'd have a board meeting with the manager on a Thursday, and then interview him on a Saturday afternoon after we've been beaten by Dartford, and you're thinking, this is going to go well, isn't it? So it was horrible. I was getting, some stick in some quarters, quite rightly, because it's horrible. It was a really difficult situation to be in. But look, we were in the National League North. We didn't have any resources, and I'd found myself on the board. So that's I had to deal with it. And but yeah, going on that tightrope and occasionally falling off it one way or the other was easy to do, I'm afraid. So, but yeah, I think I've been blessed with some really good co-commentators down the years. I've been very lucky to work with some great people. So it's probably unfair to pick out one.
Yeah, fair enough. It was a loaded question. I mean, Liam, I think Liam does really well. I do enjoy Liam, and Sam on Saturday as well. It's good, really good.
Liam's great, and I think I sort of identified him a couple of years ago that he had some talent, and I knew the direction the club was taking, that there was going to be a job there. It's not a job for me. It's not it's not a job I particularly wanted, and I've got a career outside of football, so I didn't want to go into it. But so I was never going to look at it. But I did think we needed somebody, particularly who's savvy with social media, who understands that side of the game much better than I do, but also somebody who's got passion. He's got passion for football. You don't have to be. He wasn't a Stockport County fan when he came in, but he is now, I'm sure. And I think he's doing a fantastic job. And for a young lad who's not too long out of university, I think he's doing really, really well. So his interviews are top notch. I'm really enjoying those, especially now the Dave Challoner ones, the pre-match. You can learn a lot from listening to those. So he's doing really well.
No, it's good. No, he's doing well. It's nice to hear. Yeah. Good stuff. Right. Well, it's 8:00.
We'll let you go and live your life, John.
Well, I'm sitting in Sammy's bedroom at the minute, and this isn't where I live. We're actually living with the in-laws at the moment because we're having an extension built at our house, so it's carnage over there. But do you know what's weird though is if you have work done, I've realised I'm not very good at it. I don't think I've got that common touch, like dealing with workmen and tradesmen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I had a kitchen delivered yesterday. No, honestly, no word of a lie. These two fellas delivered a kitchen. It was early morning, so I probably wasn't about 7:30. So they've turned up with this kitchen. They start offloading it, and it was cold, wasn't it? It was cold yesterday morning, and I said something like, I'm just trying to make conversation with the tradesman, and I just went, "Oh," I said, "It's frosty today, isn't it? Look at you see the snow on the roofs." And this guy, I'm not joking. This guy turned around to me and went, "There's no snow on my roof, mate. That's where I keep me grow." That's where I keep me grow. And I'm sorry, no idea what you're talking about. So yeah, I'm dealing with tradesmen at the minute, mate. I drop in the odd F-bomb, just to try and it's just I'm failing miserably. Honestly, if this extension stands up and it's finished, it'll be a miracle because I'm sure they all hate me. I just keep going to Costa buying drinks for builders. That's all I do. Just to try and curry favour. So that's why I've got to do a bit of an early dark because I'm sitting in my son's bedroom at the mother-in-law's. So it's a long and complicated story. Sorry about that.
No problem. But honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks for putting up with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for everything you do as well. It's great. I mean, you talk about the industry and how it's changed, and it's things like the work that you guys do that's moved the industry on to for the better. It's back in the day. We had the Stockport Express and we had Imagine FM, and there was no feedback and there was no real. You didn't know what people were thinking or anything. So no, it's great having outlets like this. It's brilliant.
No, good stuff. We had a club call as well, didn't we? I think
club call. Yeah. Bring it back. Des Ink's on the phone talking slowly for 4 hours.
I get the money.
Coming up.
Thanks very much. And hopefully you'll come back on as well. We'll get you back on at some point as well.
Yeah.
Cheers,
all
Jon.
the very best.
Very much.
Take care.
Cheers.
See you soon.
There we go. Always a pleasure. So, for those that don't know, Jon came on the show in 2016 when we did it in the Pineapple.
Yes, that's right. In the Chunky, weren't we?
5 years. So it's been 5 years since he came on the show.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Back by overwhelming popular demand.
Yeah.
He's been one of them who's just been on the list for ages, hasn't they? It's like, let's get Jon on now. Job's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of love coming in for him. Legend JK, what a bloke from Joe Inglesfield. So yeah, he is, and we're top bloke, and we will get him back on. Right, should we do some admin and then wrap up?
Yeah, you spaff your admin all over my face, mate.
So there's a few things to go through, so bear with us on this. So Fan Hub is still there. Please install it if you haven't already. Thanks for those that already have. 560 users. Oh, sorry, I was into work mode then, not users. 560 county fans.
Customers
in the app. There is some new features coming soon, so do bear with it. Private leagues, winning merchandise for checking in, so check-in rewards, and score predictions as well. Score predictions is a big one. Loads of people have been asking for score predictions. Not only score predictions, I've seen the test version today, and there's going to be score predictions with scorers. Now, I struggle with fucking scores, to be honest.
Well, this is going to interfere with my bets now, because I know for a fact I'm going to pick something on the Fan Hub app, and it's like, well, I'm going to have to put a bet on it now as well, aren't I?
Oh, yeah.
I'll put a bet on the same thing.
Because that'd be
yeah, exactly, yeah. Easy money, isn't it? It'll come in eventually.
Those of you that follow us on social media, we're delighted to say that we've got Chloe Beresford joining us at least once a month. If you don't know Chloe, look her up, Chloe Beresford on Twitter. She's a journalist. She's a Stockport County fan. She's Italian
bloody good
football,
podcaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Italian football knowledge that you wouldn't even you just don't understand how much she knows. She's going to join us. She's got a county season ticket this season, and we're delighted that she's joining us on this show. So you'll see her next week. And also next week, we're going to have Matt from New York Talk on as well, which is a Rotherham United podcast. And they're going pretty well. So I'm a bit nervous about the game a week on Friday, I've got to say. But
free hit, and we'll get a draw. We'll be having a replay again, mate. It's happening.
Then we'll do them at ours, obviously, yeah. No Geordie Hatter away day show this week, so he's having a break. It's his anniversary, which is nice. So,
happy anniversary! And also, well, we're giving personal messages. Get well soon to John Billsbury.
Yes,
long-time friend of the podcast. He didn't make the game last night because he's a bit under the weather. So get well soon, John.
Absolutely, yeah. Get well soon, John. And if you haven't already, check out our other videos. They're all on our YouTube channel. I've cleaned it all up now, so you've got the Dark Days series and special guests, and we'll get more on very, very soon. Now, the last thing to mention is that we are planning a live show. So if you've left the live show now, because we can see the numbers going down.
Don't tell them.
Don't tell them. It's a secret.
It's between us and you. This is our little secret.
Yeah. Got a live show coming up sometime in January. Not sure yet, but we've got Mike Flynn and Gary Stopforth agreed to come on to do a live show. Got a friend of the podcast, Rob Brittner, who's been on before. He's a guitarist, a bassist. He's just a really
singer, everything.
Singer. He's going to do a bit of a set for us to warm everybody up. It'll be probably 10 quid in, pie and a pint upstairs 8 days a week. So we'll get that done. That should be a really great night. We just need to confirm sort of dates and things, and we'll get it sorted.
Yeah, it looks like probably second half of January, but we will confirm that, won't we?
We will. Yes, we will confirm the date. And please do like the video. Like the video now. If you haven't already, please subscribe and do comment when we make the comments live. It really does help us with our algorithms and things like that, and gets us further up. And
I'll tell you what, you want to put some cream on them algorithms, mate.
They're very sore.
Yeah.
Very sore. Yeah.
Well, if you will ride a bike, mate, this is what happens.
Yeah, but I've got some chamois cream for that, not algorithm cream. That's for something completely different. You're getting your creams mixed up, aren't you?
Sorry, mate.
Do you know which end an algorithm cream goes on? You don't, do you?
I don't think I want to know. No.
Oh, I don't know.
No. If I get algorithms, I just pop them back in. And hope for the best. Absolute casserole down there.
Good stuff. Right. I think we're done. Thank you to everybody that's commented. Really means a lot. Thank you to everyone that's watched and got involved. And yes, we will see you next week.
And they'll see us next week as well.
They'll see us. Yeah. Cheers, everybody. Bye now.
Cheers, thank you.
This is the Scarf Bergara War, a Stockport County fan-created podcast, blog, YouTube live show and website. Find us at thescarfbergarawar.co.uk. For county fans, by county fans.